Welcome back, all my fight fans. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for UFC 318 coming up July 19th in New Orleans for Dustin Poirier's last dance. Yes, it's his last time fighting. It's very sad. I've been watching him for a little over 10 years. I remember it was about 10 years ago exactly that he fought Conor McGregor for the first time. That was the first time I remember him actually fighting. I think I caught a couple of his earlier fights than before that, but it's just been such an amazing ride. He's an absolute warrior. We all know it. He's fought absolutely everybody. I'll put up his resume on screen right now because it's absolutely insane. It's one of the strongest UFC resumes in UFC history, and it's going to cap off with a trilogy, the third and final fight between Poirier and Holloway. As many of you may remember, way back in the day, they fought as very, very young men. They fought a few years ago for the interim belt for 155. Sadly, Poirier wasn't able to unify it in his fight with Khabib. He was eventually choked out in that fight. And he never won a belt throughout his career, which is very unfortunate. I think if there's one fighter at the top of my list, above Chael Sonnen, above Nick Diaz, the one fighter who I think deserved a UFC belt more than anybody, I think it was Dustin Poirier. And sadly, he won't be able to lift UFC gold this Saturday, but he might be able to lift the BMF belt, which will be on the line. Max Holloway will be putting that on the line. He is the defending BMF champion after, of course, knocking out Justin Gaethje in the most iconic knockout, I think, in the sport's history. Maybe we'll get another moment like that in this fight. We'll see. I can't wait to break this fight card down for you guys. As always, we'll go through absolutely everything. So I'll give you guys my predictions for the early prelims, the prelims, and then the main card, and obviously the main event. If you guys want to skip around, there will be timestamps down below in the description. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. And with that all out of the way, let's get into the predictions. So kicking off our early prelims, we have a women's flyweight bout. It's the only women's fight on the card, and it's between Carly Giudice versus Nicole Cagliari. Now, I don't know enough about each of these women, so I don't know which way to call it, but Carly, on one hand, has a 4-2 record, 4 wins by knockout, and 4 coming in the first round. So all of her wins are by knockout and all in the first round. That's pretty impressive for a woman. On the other hand, we have Cagliari, who is 8-3, 5 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 4 again in the first round. So both of these women don't have a ton of fights, and they already have 4 first-round knockouts or four first-round finishes. So that's very, very impressive. And I think this will be a fairly fun women's fight. If there's one thing that I can say about this card, is that the matchmakers were sneakily good in putting it together. You'll notice it as we go through the card, that this card doesn't have the biggest names ever. It's not like UFC 300, where just every name on every fight just pops off of the page to you, and you're like, wow, that guy's a legend, that guy's a legend, that guy's a legend. But if you look into the records, if you look at the past fights of a lot of these fighters on this card, all of them are kind of underrated BMFs. Every single fighter on this card likes to fight. None of them are like athletes who like to preserve their health or fight diligently and fight smart, fight reserved. Every single fighter on this card steps forward and brawls. So this fight card is literally the BMF card. It's the most badass card I think I've ever seen when it comes to just guys who like to go forward and brawl it out. So moving on, we have a middleweight bout between, again, 2 guys who like to throw down, Bruno Ferreira and Jackson McKeevy. Now, McKeevy, I don't know a ton about, but he has a record of 6-0. He has 3 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, all 6 coming in the first round. So he looks like a pretty deadly guy. I don't know how good he's going to be in the UFC. We'll see. But he's facing off against a very tough opponent in Bruno Ferreira, who's 13-2, 9 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission, and 10 wins coming in the first round. So this is going to be a very, very fun fight. I'm excited to see how this Jackson kid turns out. Kind of looks like Jesus with his profile or his UFC picture there. And yeah, I'm excited to see how this fight goes down. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you guys turn in for the early prelims and the prelims, because like I just said, all of these fights are so well matched. The matchmakers really did a good job on this one. So moving on, we have a heavyweight bout between Ryan Spann and Lukas Brzeski. Now, this Polish fighter and the one on the next fight, both of them, they are so damn tough, and they walk forward and they just sling it out. They're so much fun. Ryan Spann, on the other hand, I mean, we know Ryan Spann. He's been in the UFC for a while now. He has had a lot of fights in the UFC, and Superman Spann is a very entertaining fighter. He has a record of 22-11, 6 wins by knockout, 13 by submission, and 16 wins coming in the first round, which is incredibly impressive, being that most of his finishes have been by submission. Lukas Breski, on the other hand, is 9-6-1, 6 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, 3 first-round finishes. This is going to be a tremendous fight. These Polish fighters, man, they always come forward. They always sling it out. They never, fight reserved or they're trying to protect their chin or trying to protect their health. They go out there and they sling leather, man. So it's going to be a really, really fun fight. Then we have a light heavyweight bout between Jimmy Crute and Marcin Paracino, which is the other Polish guy that I was mentioning before. He's also kind of the same vein, just marches forward, slings it out. He's always looking for the knockout. He has a record of 17-8, 11 wins by knockout, 11 in the first round. So again, a guy who's very, very dangerous early on, and he's taking on Jimmy Crute, who's 12-4, 5 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission, 8 coming in the first round. Again, a guy who likes to get after it very, very quickly. Kind of not a first round fighter, I would say, but he gets after it very quickly. He doesn't take a couple rounds to feel guys out. He starts to throw immediately. So again, it's going to be a very, very fun fight. And then our headliner for the early prelims is a welterweight bout between Adam Fugit and Islam Dulatov, who is from Germany, but I think he's Russian. He's actually a really fun fighter. He has a record of, on the UFC website, 1-0, but I believe his full record is 11-1. His first loss came in his first ever fight, and it was a decision. Past that, he's had I think 7 knockouts, maybe 3 submissions, something like that. Somebody can double check for me, but they don't have it on the UFC website, his full record. On the other hand, we have Adam Fugit. I'm not too sure how to pronounce his name, but he's 10-4, 4 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 3 coming in the first round. So this should be a very fun welterweight fight. I'm going to pick Dulatov to win this one, and I guess I should give my predictions for the other fights. I'm going to take the Polish fighters in the light heavyweight fight and the heavyweight fight. And in the middleweight fight between Bruno Ferreira and Jackson McKeevy, I'm going to take Bruno just because he has a little bit more experience in the UFC. For the women's fight, I don't know either of those fighters well enough to give you guys a solid prediction, so I just hope that it's a fun fight. But I'm taking Bruno, I'm taking Breski, I'm taking Pracino, and I'm taking Dulatov when it comes to the early prelims. So let's now move on to our regular prelims. And kicking off our regular prelims, we have a middleweight bout between Atiba Gauthier versus Robert Valentine. Gauthier is from Cameroon, same as Francis Ngannou. I think this is the first Cameroonian fighter I've seen since Francis. I could be wrong on that, but he has a record of 7-1, and he has a 6-fight winning streak with 6 wins by knockout, 5 in the first round. So seems like he has power like Francis as well. And then on the other hand, from Switzerland, we have Valentine. Valentine has a record of 11-5, 3 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, and 7 in the first round. And he is a hell of a grappler. If he can get this is the only one that may be a boring fight. It's possible. It's possible if Valentine just holds on to the other guy and he doesn't want to feel his power coming back, so he just kind of plays it safe for a couple rounds and squeezes out a decision. It could go that way. But I've seen Robert Valentine fight, and he can also sling leather, and he can also fight recklessly. So hopefully he gets drawn into a firefight. I don't know how this one's going to go down. Valentine has more experience, but I think I'm going to take Gauthier because he seems like he's surging right now, and he has a lot of knockout power. So I'm going to take him by second round KO in this one. Moving on, we have a welterweight bout between Francisco Prado and Nikolai, I apologize for butchering this name, Veretennikov. He's from Kazakhstan, but born in Ukraine. So interesting background there. He has a record of 12-6. 9 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission, and 5 wins coming in the first round, whereas Francisco Prado, on the other hand, has a record of 12-3, 6 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission, 9 wins coming in the first round. And the other thing to note about Prado is he's only 22 years old. Yes, you heard that right. A 22-year-old. Very, very young fighter and a very promising career ahead of him. I'm excited to see what he does in this fight. He's going up against a very tough opponent. From what I've seen in the UFC, everybody from Kazakhstan is tough. It also carries for boxing as well, but I'm actually going to take Prado in this one. I think being the younger fighter by, 13 years. I think the other guy's 35. I think he's going to have the advantage when it comes to the speed, the power. He also has quite a bit of fight experience for being only 22, and I'm excited to see what he does in the welterweight division. I'm going to take Prado by... Ooh, I don't know. This could end in stoppage for sure. I'm going to go third round KO for this one. Moving on, we have a middleweight bout between the number 10 ranked Marvin Vettori and the number 11th ranked Brendan Allen. So this should be a very, very fun fight as long as it doesn't become a boring grappling exchange. But I think both of these fighters have it in them to make this a pretty fun fight. Brendan Allen, all in, is a 24-7. He has 5 wins by knockout, 14 by submission. So even though he's a pretty submission-heavy fighter, he does get after it. And if you like jiu-jitsu, if you practice it, if you know a little something about the ground game, he is a very high-level jiu-jitsu guy, and it is a lot of fun to watch him grapple. So this fight could be boring, I guess, but I think Marvin Vettori, on the other hand, is going to make it a lot of fun because he has the wrestling to possibly negate any takedowns coming out from Allen, and he also has the power in his hands to make this a really fun fight and possibly get a knockout. He has a record of 19-8-1, 2 wins by knockout, 9 by submission, and 11 coming in the first round. So only the 2 knockouts there, but if you've watched Marvin Vettori's fights, he does have a lot of power in his hands, and going up against somebody like Brendan Allen, I think he could get this done by knockout. However, I'm going to take Vettori by decision because it's only 3 rounds. Really, this should be a headliner for a fight night. This is a pretty high-level fight, I would say. Both guys have a lot of UFC experience. Both guys have been ranked for a very long time. So we'll see how this one plays out, but usually when you guys have 2 guys with that high level of skill, that much experience in a 3-round fight, usually it tends to squeeze towards a decision if one guy doesn't have like a clear power advantage. And I think while Vettori does have the power advantage in his hands, with the 2 knockouts there, we know that he's not like knocking everybody out in the first round, right? So I think I'm going to take Vettori in this one by decision. Moving on, for our headliner of the prelims, we have the number 12th ranked bantamweight fighter Kyler Phillips going against the number 15th ranked at bantamweight Vinicius Oliveira. And I'm very excited for this fight because both of these guys bring it. Both of these guys are incredibly exciting fighters. They're both very talented. They can throw very tricky stuff. Vinicius has those knees. Kyler can throw some spinning stuff. So this is going to be a very fun fight. Oliveira has a record of 22-3, 16 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, 14 coming in the first round. He is a very, very exciting fighter. I would highly recommend going and watching some of his highlights because yeah, he dazzles for sure. Then we have Kyler Phillips, who has a record of 12-3, 5 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, 5 coming in the first round, and he looks better and better in every fight that he's in. He could potentially be a future champion. I see the skill in him. We'll see if he can string together enough wins to get into that top 5 of the bantamweight division. It's a little stacked right now, but we'll see what Kyler Phillips can do in this fight. He's going up against a very tough opponent in Vinicius Oliveira, but I'm going to take Kyler Phillips to win this one by decision because I think he has a higher fight IQ. On the other hand, it's hard to bet against Oliveira with that amazing record, 22-3, I think I just said, and so many knockouts. The guy has crazy power. He definitely could get this done fast, but I'm going to take Kyler Phillips by decision in this one. So that wraps up the prelims. Let's now move on to the main card. Kicking off our main card, we have a lightweight bout between Michael Johnson and Daniel Zellhuber, and this is going to be a fun fight, man. You got 2 boxing heavy guys. Zellhuber is closing in at a minus 345 favorite. That's because he's a lot younger and he seems to have a little bit more power in his hands compared to Michael Johnson. Hard to say because Michael Johnson's beaten some of the best fighters on the planet, including Dustin Poirier, who we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think Zellhuber is going to have enough to get this one done. He has a 15-2 record, 7 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, 5 coming in the first round, and he goes forward, man. He has so much heart, so much grit. He's a tough SOB, and I think he's going to be too much for Michael Johnson, who has a record of 24-19, almost a 50-50 record. But he has 10 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, 8 coming in the first round, and like I said, I'll throw a little bit of his resume up on screen right now so you guys can see some of the big names that he's fought and some of the big names that he's beaten. Michael Johnson's one of those hit or miss guys. When he's like on his game, he's one of the best fighters in the lightweight division. When he's not, he's kind of a layup fighter to kind of get you into the top 15 or the top 10. So we'll see how this one plays out. But I'm going to take Zellhuber in this one. It could end in KO, but I think because both guys are such high-level boxers, I think it's going to go to a decision, and I think Zellhuber is going to win it soundly with just having more power, more speed, a little bit more youth, and I think he's going to get this one done. Moving on, we have a featherweight bout between the number 12 ranked Dan Ige and Patricio Pitbull, who's making his second fight now in the UFC. I've been watching his whole career play out. He's one of my favorite fighters. I've said for years, I think he's one of the best 145ers on the planet. Unfortunately, he had a lackluster debut against a guy who is probably one of the trickiest, if not the trickiest fighter in the UFC to fight, in Zaire Rodriguez. And to come in for your UFC debut and to face like the trickiest, craftiest striker in your division, it can be tough. So I can almost give him a pass for that one. I want him to come into this fight a little bit better, a little bit sharper, more volume, and hopefully he can sleep Dan Ige either by knocking him out or by choking him out, because if you know Pitbull, he can do both equally well. But Dan Ige is tough, man, and he upsets guys like this. He almost upset Diego Lopez. He was very close to beating Diego Lopez. And Dan Ige he's almost like a carbon copy of Pitbull in a lot of ways. Maybe a little less skilled in some areas, but they're built similar and they have similar skill sets, and they both have that mindset of wanting to win, wanting to go forward, willing to fight absolutely everybody. So this will be a very, very fun fight. Pitbull has quite the record. He has a record of 36-8, 36 wins. That's very impressive. He has 12 wins by knockout, 12 wins by submission, and 12 wins in the first round. So a very complete record there. He can do absolutely everything. He's one of the most well-rounded fighters on the entire planet, whereas Dan Ige, on the other hand, has a record of 19-9, 7 wins by knockout, 5 wins by submission, and 7 coming in the first round. So for this one, I'm going to take Pitbull just because I've been watching him fight for a lot longer. I've been waiting for year after year after year for him to come to the UFC. He's finally here. I want him to do big things in this division. So it might be a little bit wishful thinking here, but I'm going to take Pitbull to win this by decision. I think because it's a 3-round fight, it should be, again, a fight night main event. These guys are so damn skilled, but I think I'm going to go with Pitbull by decision in this one. But it's a 50-50 fight, really. You could flip a coin on who's going to win this fight, and the odds kind of reflect that right now. Dan Ige is closing it at a slight favorite, but I would say that it's a pretty 50-50 fight. Moving on, we have a welterweight bout between the number 14th ranked Kevin Holland and the unranked Daniel Rodriguez. And Daniel Rodriguez is a great fighter for Kevin Holland to fight because it can either turn into like a shit-talking back and forth war where they're just punching each other in the face for 15 minutes, or Daniel Rodriguez isn't that amazing at fighting. He's not like a super high level like Chimaev type, where I think Kevin Holland can go in here and just knock him out in the first round. So we're going to see either a fight of the night or a highlight reel KO or possibly a submission. You never know with Kevin Holland. I think we're going to see something spectacular in this fight, but I think Kevin Holland's going to get the nod at the end of the night. He has a record of 28-13, 14 wins by knockout, 9 by submission, and 13 wins coming in the first round. He fights almost every weekend. It feels like he's the most active fighter in the UFC, at least in the last 5 years. And I'm excited to see what he does against Daniel Rodriguez, who has a record of 19-5, 9 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission, 5 coming in the first round. So it's going to be a fun fight. Both of these guys like to go forward, sling leather, brawl it out. Like I said, it could be a very early KO for Holland, or it could be a 15-minute war. So we'll see, but I'm going to take Kevin Holland, and I'm siding with KO in this one. He's looked good in his last couple fights, and I think against somebody like Rodriguez, I think he's going to be able to find the shot on him. So I'm going to go first round KO for Kevin Holland. Moving on, we have our co-main event, which I know some people are like, oh, I wish we had a better co-main event for this card, but I do think this is going to be a very, very fun fight at middleweight. It's the number 13th ranked Paulo Costa versus the number 14th ranked Roman Kopylov. And Kopylov's closing in at a minus 245 favorite right now. That's because he has a record of 14-3 with 12 wins by knockout, 2 by decision, and 1 first round finish. So he can get the knockout a little bit later. That's one thing to note. He is a very crafty striker. He sets things up, and then once he sees his opportunity, he goes in for the kill shot, and he finds it on a lot of people. He's a very, very high-level striker. I think he's going to get it done in this one, but he is a very difficult opponent in Paulo Costa, who has a record of 14-4. All 4 of those losses were to high-level opponents. He has 11 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 9 coming in the first round. They don't call him the eraser for nothing. He has a lot lot of power in his hands. It just depends on what Paulo Costa we get when he shows up. Do we get Paulo Costa who fought Izzy, or do we get Paulo Costa who fought Yoel Romero? Like, Costa's one of those fighters too, where he's kind of like Michael Johnson. It's like, which fighter is going to show up tonight? But I think Kopylov is going to be able to get this done. I think he has the higher striking IQ. He's got the range advantage, I believe. I think he has the reach advantage, but he's gonna show his range more in the fight, just the way that he strikes. But I think Kopylov's going to get this done by decision. I think he's going to have to be aware of that power in the first round or two, but I think he's going to squeeze things out. I think he's going to touch Paulo Costa up, and I think Costa's going to be swinging and missing the whole night. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm going to take Kopylov by decision. Now let's move on to the fight that we've all been waiting for, the last dance of Dustin Poirier. Let's break down the main event. So making his walk into the octagon for the last time, Dustin Poirier is ranked number 6 at lightweight, and Max Holloway is ranked number 5. And I do think Max Holloway will be the red corner because he's ranked higher and he has the BMF belt, but it's going to be fun to watch Dustin Poirier walk out for that final time. I think he's walking out to Lil Wayne. We don't know for sure, but I think that's what's happening. It's going to be sick to see him walk out in his hometown, his home state. You know, he's in New Orleans. He's going to walk out and probably to a little bit of Lil Wayne, and then also the Rihanna song. He always has to walk out to that, and it's gonna be bittersweet, man. I'm probably gonna tear up a little bit watching him walk out for the last time. He's been one of my favorite fighters for like I said, almost 10 years now. He's fought absolutely everybody. He's always down to fight. Fought for the title multiple times. Came so close so many times. I wish he got another shot at it, but I think this is it. I think this is the last fight. Even if he won this fight and called out for Ilya, I think Ilya is going to do other things. I think he's waiting for that Islam fight, or he's got Paddy lined up. I think there's other things to do at lightweight right now. It would be nice to see, Poirier versus Ilya for the last fight, but that also is probably going to end in Poirier getting knocked out, and that's not how I want to see him go out. I'd rather see him go out against somebody like Max Holloway, who's almost like identical to Poirier. He's another guy who fights everybody, who's always been active. He's another guy who we just have a ton of respect for. Unfortunately, Max Holloway did become a champion. Poirier never actually got to hold the real gold, just the interim gold. But I think both of these guys having so much respect for each other, being longtime veterans in the sport, both of them having amazing fights with Conor McGregor. Max Holloway, that was a long time ago. I'd love to see that one get ran back. In fact, a couple years ago, I was calling for that. I wanted to see Holloway and McGregor ran back because I feel like now, Holloway could probably win that fight. But needless to say, I think both of these guys match up perfect for Poirier's last fight. How it's going to go down, I honestly don't know. I mean, we look at the first fight, they were so damn young. It's hard to judge that fight. Max Holloway was like 20 or 22 years old in that fight. So it's hard to judge that fight. But going off of their last fight, the second fight that they had, it was one of the best fights I've ever seen in my life, probably in my top 10. It was perfect. They just stood on their feet the whole time. They were just boxing back and forth. It was a beautiful boxing masterclass from both sides. Max Holloway had rounds where he won. Poirier had rounds where he won. I thought Poirier squeezed out 3 or maybe 4-1. I'd have to go back and rewatch the fight, but I knew for sure that Poirier had won that one. And it was such a close fight that in this one, it could switch the other way. Like, Holloway could win this fight. Just because he lost to Poirier twice already doesn't mean that he's not like a live fighter in this fight. I know that he had the huge up last year of knocking out Gaethje, and then the huge fall off of getting knocked out by Ilya, first time he's ever been knocked out. But I think Holloway's going to bounce back and have a tremendous performance here against Poirier. So let's go over their records real quick. We'll start with DP. The Diamond is 30-9. 16 wins by knockout, 7 wins by submission, and 13 wins coming in the first round. He can get it done any way he wants. He can submit you. He can knock you out. He can do it early. He can draw it out to a war like he did against Holloway or Dan Hooker or so many other fights. Max Holloway, on the other hand, has a record of 26-8 with 12 wins by knockout and 2 wins by submission. So these guys are just perfectly matched up for each other. I can't stress it enough. I know I'm repeating myself here, but you just look at their resumes, look who they fought over the years. I know one was, Max usually stayed at featherweight, but he's fought a lot of great guys up at lightweight too, fighting, Justin Gaethje, almost fighting Khabib that one time. And I think these guys, they're just they're meant to fight each other. I wish I could watch this fight 50 more times. It's awesome that we're getting it for a third time. But yeah, this is just such a great matchup that it's hard for me to call which way it's going to go. Right now, Poirier is closing in at a slight favorite, minus 102 to Max's minus 118. So they're almost even, dead even. And they should be, because if you watch the last fight, like I said, it was dead even, dead close. And this fight could go the same way. I'm going to pick Poirier to win by decision. I know that's super boring, and people would rather me take like Poirier by knockout, or maybe go the other way and say Max Holloway is going to win this fight, because he definitely could. But I think we all want to see just one of the best fights of the year, one of the best fights of all time. We want to see like a Rory versus Robbie type moment. Maybe not so hateful. I think these guys, they don't have that much hate for each other like Rory and Robbie did at the time. But I want to see a fight like that. I want to see a badass, one of the best fights of all time, and I just want to see Poirier get his hand lifted at the end. I want to see him strap that BMF belt on him and just go out in the sunset like that. That would be the best way for him to end his career for me. It's sad that, he's only 36 years old when you have guys like Michael Chandler who are still fighting at 38, 39. You have, guys like John Jones who just fought Stipe last year at 38. It sucks that he's retiring a little bit early, but I think it's the best thing to do, and I think it's the right time. I think this is the fight to do it on, against somebody like Max Holloway, somebody who's pure class, somebody who everybody respects, a guy who's just ready to stand and brawl, a guy who's not too scary like Ilya. Like if Poirier's last fight was against Ilya, like I said, I think that would go pretty badly for Poirier. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there, because I don't want to talk too much more about it until the fight happens. I'll talk a lot more about it in the breakdown once we've seen kind of how things went down, and we see his post-fight speech and his retirement ceremony and all that. I'll have more to talk about on this. And eventually, very soon on this channel, hopefully before the end of the year, I'm going to make a kind of biographical documentary on Dustin Poirier, and we'll go through his entire life, from his childhood, how he started training martial arts, his upbringing in Louisiana, and we'll kind of just track his whole career. Fighting Conor McGregor for the first time, fighting Khabib, fighting all these guys. We'll capstone with his fight against Holloway, and I'll make you guys like a, 45-minute, hour-long biographical documentary kind of capstoning Dustin Poirier's career. We'll see how much footage I can use. That's the only thing when I make videos. It's hard to use footage from fights because UFC, they don't like that. They have copyright on all their footage, so sometimes my videos can get demonetized or even taken down. I don't want that to happen, so we'll see how much I can include in that, but I want to make you guys a nice video kind of giving a tribute to Dustin Poirier, because I've had so many memories with him over the years, hours and hours and hours of watching him fight, and it's been quite a ride. So I've been a huge fan of him his whole career. It's going to be bittersweet to kind of watch him walk out for the last time, but I just hope it's an amazing fight. And yeah, that's all that I have to say for today, guys. So let me know down below in the comments, how do you guys have the final fight of Dustin Poirier playing out? Do you think Max Holloway is going to win? Do you think Poirier is going to win? How do you think it's going to go down? Decision, knockout, submission? Maybe he finally gets the jumping guillotine, jumping gilly. We'll see if that actually happens. I doubt it, but that would be quite a way to end a career. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about all the other fights down below in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, it means the world to me. Enjoy the fights, especially Poirier's last fight. This is the last time we get to watch him fight, so enjoy it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.